We are 3 days away from the Kentucky Derby, the run for the roses, the most exciting 2 minutes in sports, America's greatest race, the pinnacle of horse racing for 3-year-olds. And we just found out that morning line favorite Omaha Beach has been scratched from the Kentucky Derby due to a respiratory infection. Oh, it's wide open. And I am on a big run in Kentucky Derbies. I've won 7 years in a row, and it all started out very fortunately. I was very lucky. It was 2012. I was at my home racetrack in Vancouver, Hastings Racecourse, and our favorite jockey is Mario Gutierrez, Super Mario. He emigrated to Canada in 2006. In 2007 and 8, he won riding titles at our track and made us a lot of money. Now, he had a mount in the Kentucky Derby. He was riding I'll Have Another, trained by Doug O'Neill, owned by J. Paul Redham Racing. J. Paul Redham, another Canadian. So we just blindly took I'll Have Another. We didn't even cap the race. We blindly took I'll Have Another, and then, of course, we made an exactor box with the favorite. That's what you do with long shots, right? Because if the favorite does what he's supposed to do, and your capping is right, then your horse will pass the favorite near the end of the race if it goes that way. And that's what it did. I'll Have Another past Bodemeister right at the end of the race. He came from the clouds. It was glorious. The winning ticket on $2 paid $32. The $2 exactor paid $300 and something. It was multi-$1,000 winning tickets for all of us. And the track just erupted. It just went crazy. There's champagne bottles, lobster. I've never seen anything in my life like it. In my whole life, I've never seen a spot where everybody at the track won the race. It was spectacular. Flash forward to 2013. I'm at Churchill Downs in Kentucky. It's pouring rain. They confiscated our umbrellas walking in. We go to the infield because we just had tickets for the infield, and it's a muddy mess. It's a year before they brought in the big screen. The rain is ruining our day. Little did I know that the rain was my savior. I was on Orb to the field and the field to Orb. Exactor, $10 each way, cost $3.80. Orb comes out of the final turn, out of the slop, takes over the lead, wins the race. Golden Soul, a long shot, comes second. It cashes. The $2 paid $900. The $10 paid over $4,000. It was a glorious occasion. I didn't know how lucky I was. Both those years, it was luck. The rain was the reason I won that race. Orb never won another race. Then we had 5 straight years of the favorite cashing. 5 straight years. California Chrome, American Pharoah, Nyquist, Always Dreaming, and Justify. Pharoah was the morning line favorite at 5-2. Justify was the morning line favorite at 3-1. They deserved those numbers. They had earned those numbers. This year, we had Omaha Beach at 4-1. And the speed figures of Omaha Beach and the other 5 top horses were very similar. Did Omaha Beach deserve to be 4-1? I don't know. I was planning on fading him anyways, and now he's out of the race, and it completely changes the whole pace. So let's talk about what we're looking at. Let's get to work right now. First off, it's a 1.25 mile race. There's likely going to be rain, and it's a 20-horse field. The last 5 winners of this race have been on or close to the pace, on or close to the lead. So we need to find a horse that has tactical speed. So we'll look out for that. Also, we need a horse who can be bumped, run in traffic, and we have to add some long shots into our exotics. We need some long shots there because we got to go for the big score. We got to go for the big cash. The last 7 winners of this race won a grade 1 prep race leading up to it. So let's look at the prep races. First off, we all feel like the strongest prep races came out of Arkansas. We had 2 divisions of the Rebel, and then we had the Arkansas Derby, a race won by Omaha Beach. Then the Wood Memorial was a good race with a similar pace to what we're going to see in the Derby. In fact, the entire road to the Derby in New York had high speed figures. Now, the Wood Memorial winner hasn't won a Derby since Fusaichi Pegasus in 2000. Although Funny Side came second in 2003, and Empire Maker won the Wood. Funny Side ended up winning the Derby. But there's been no real relevant horses from the Wood Memorial in a long time. The Withers earned a 118 time form US speed figure. The Gotham earned a 118 time form US speed figure. So let's lean toward horses from the Arkansas and New York prep races. Now, let's talk about the elephant in the room. California horses. 5 of the last 7 Kentucky Derby winners were based in California. 4 of the 5 trained by Baffert or O'Neill. So they seem to have an edge recently. But due to issues at Santa Anita this year, some of their best runners traveled to Arkansas instead. which left an uninspiring Santa Anita Derby. It was just not as strong as years past. It was also a small field. Two of Baffert's horses, Santa Anita Derby horses, Game Winner and Roadster, each drew poorly, starting way out wide in the 16th and 17th posts. Now it gets a little bit better for them. Now the Omaha Beach is out. Now they're in the 15, 16 posts, although it will still say 16 and 17. But they're on the auxiliary gate. And there's a lot of crashing that goes on because everybody's trying to move over to the rail. Now, we have to make cuts. There's a lot of horses to like, and we have to decide which ones we're going to make money with and which ones we're going to stay off. The Derby is the most wide open that I can remember, which makes it so exciting to handicap. Let's break down the horses. Number 1, War of Will. I like this horse a lot. Moneyline 20-1, jockey Tyler Gaffalione, trainer Mark Cassie. A speed horse in gate 1 of a 20-horse field is not a good thing. The post is pointed directly at the start of the inner rail. From this position, War of Will, who does show gate speed, will be forced to set the pace. He has to. He has to make it out of that pocket unscathed. The rail has not done well lately in this race. It's a bad spot for the need-to-lead type horses, which is where we think War of Will wants to be. The rail, though, simple, in the most simple terms, is the shortest way around the track. And we've seen horses work out a trip from the one hole before. He needs to break well, and he's a good gate horse. He started out as a turf horse. He came 5th in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf last year, was only 3.5 lengths behind the winner, Line of Duty. Then they moved him to the main track, and he looked very strong on the dirt track at Churchill Downs. He broke his maiden on a sloppy sealed track there at Churchill, winning by 5 lengths and getting an 82 buyer. That's a very important point because we think there's going to be slop on Saturday. Then he comes back in the Grade 3 Lecomte at Fairgrounds and looks excellent. Wins with a 94 buyer. Follows that up with a win in the Grade 2 Risen Star Stakes with a 90 buyer. Then he went into the Louisiana Derby as a big favorite. And he let everybody down, and he came 9th by 12 lengths. What exactly happened? First off, there was talk that maybe Mark Cassie, the trainer, wanted him to get some experience with dirt in his face, wanted him to maybe rate off the pace, feel the dirt, and see how he responded. They also said that he suffered an injury during the race. He finished 9th as a heavy favorite. Cassie swears that there are no lingering physical issues, but the inside draw stands as a problem for a horse who wants to factor early. But again, there's going to be no Omaha Beach, and it's very important for us to break down the pace. He's got to break well. He's got to get ahead of Tax, who's right beside him, and he's got to get away, just a little bit away from the rail. Then we have the 7. Maximum Security is going to be pushing over. That's how I see this race beginning. I see War of Will taking the lead, Maximum Security coming up right beside him. And then there's going to be a gauntlet of other horses that we talk about that are going to be coming over. But that's how I see this horse starting. I like War of Will. I think we're getting a lot of value with him at 20-1. I think he can break strongly. I think he can get to the lead. And with no Omaha Beach, nobody's going to get forced into a 45-2 first half. Could be a 46-4 or a 47. Something very pedestrian that would allow Maximum Security to likely win this race. But we'll get to him very soon. That's the number 1, War of Will, whom I will be using in my exotic. Number 2, Tax. Morning line 20-1. Jockey Junior Alvarado. Trainer Danny Gargan. He debuted in a $30,000 maiden claimer. He came 2nd by a half length with a 66 buyer. Then he runs in a $50,000 maiden claimer and gets claimed. What a claim. This horse is now running in the Kentucky Derby. He wins that race with a 66 buyer. Goes into the Grade 2 Remsen next at 17-1 and comes 3rd. With a huge jump, we jump up to a 93 buyer. This closes out his 2-year-old season. Then he starts his 3-year-old season by winning the Grade 3 Withers at Aqueduct. We already talked about the U.S. Timeform speed figure for that, a 118. He wins as the favorite with a 96 buyer, follows it up with a 2nd in the Wood Memorial, a length and a quarter behind the winner, Tacitus, the number 8 horse in this race. Now, he had everything go his way. It was a perfect trip, and he still wasn't able to beat Tacitus. That sure is a red flag. The son of Arch likes to be closer to the pace, but he isn't always fastest from the gate. That could be a big problem for Tax. He's at risk of getting pinched by War of Will, who we expect to pop right out of the gate and try to get away from the rail, and he's going to be moving towards Maximum Security. He's going to be moving towards him. Maximum Security will be looking to cross over. So that's a tough spot for Tax. But we talk about prep races, and we like the New York prep races. I think that Tax can be around. I think at 20-1, he deserves to be part of our exotics. We already talked about the number one War of Will. The number one War of Will was in Louisiana racing, in the prep races, and those races have been disrespected. Nobody likes the Louisiana horses lately, and we haven't seen a good Louisiana horse really since Gunrunner, who was spectacular. But in New York, it's a different story. We like the prep races, and I think Tax is a worthy long shot to play in our exotics. Number 3, by my standards. Morning line 20-1, jockey Gabriel Saez, trainer Brett Calhoun. By my standards is by Golden Sense, who finished a very disappointing 17th in the Kentucky Derby. It was still a good horse. Golden Sense is by Into Mischief. Into Mischief had a very strong runner last year, Audible. By my standards, he's won 2 of 5 races and been in the money in all 5. He won his last 2 races, really broke out winning the Louisiana Derby. 97 buyer when he won it. Now, Louisiana horses, as we mentioned, don't get a lot of respect. Calhoun, his trainer, also doesn't get a ton of respect. Guy's won over 3,000 races, but this is his first ever Derby starter. He looks to reverse the trend of Louisiana Derby winners coming up short in the Kentucky Derby. Now, this horse won't be right on the pace, and this doesn't necessarily, his spot, the 3, doesn't necessarily favor his style, especially with horses that use speed to his inside. He could end up on the rail. Now, that could be a saving ground trip. If Tax and if War of Will breaks fast, Tax sort of goes with him, but not quite as fast, then here, by my standards, can kind of lean in behind them. Now, that's a ground-saving trip, but he's going to take a lot of dirt in the face, and these are young horses. Now, the Louisiana has been denounced by cappers as a very weak prep race, but this horse showed a lot of guts. This horse showed a lot of guts. He went through traffic to win the Louisiana Derby. He went from a maiden claimer to a Grade 2 winner. I like this horse. These first 3 horses will all be used in the back end of my exactas, trifectas, superfectas, in the back end of my exotic wagering. Number 4, Gray Magician. Morning line 50-1, jockey Drayden Van Dyke, trainer Peter Miller. This horse came second in the UAE Derby to the number 9 horse in this race, Plus Q Parfait. Had never run a faster buyer than 80 in North America, and he had 7 opportunities to do that. He'll face much, much better opponents than he did in the UAE Derby. He is the first UAE Derby runner-up to try the Kentucky Derby, and the UAE Derby winners have come over here and done nothing in the Kentucky Derby. He's not good enough, but he'll have no problem running the 1.25 miles. Maybe he passes some tired horses. He'll be one of the highest prices in the field, and I want nothing to do with him. He won't be involved in any of my action. Number 5, Improbable. Morning line 6-1, jockey Irad Ortiz Jr., trainer Bob Baffert. Of the 3 Baffert horses, he has the number 16 game winner and the number 17 Roadster as well. It feels like this horse just isn't getting enough respect and not getting as much respect as the other 2 horses. In the Arkansas Derby, he threw a fit in the gate. He was backed out twice. He looked green in many, many situations, and that was one of them. Will he be able to handle the Derby crowd, 200,000 people? Will he be able to handle the other 19 horses in the gate? Baffert is making an equipment change. He is taking the blinkers off. Horses making an equipment change in the Derby have not fared well in years past. He has a lot of speed around him, and he could get shuffled back. We've seen him break slowly before. He doesn't have the best gate speed, and he prefers to run as a stalker, sort of mid-pack. The horse directly to his left lacks gate speed. He's also far enough removed from Tax and War of Will to not be affected by their attempts to move out a couple of paths, but he's going to have to deal with maximum security trying to cross over. But he's no stranger to early race congestion, and this post, the number 5 post, has produced a lot of nice runners. He won all 3 of his races as a 2-year-old, culminating with the Grade 1 Los Alamitos Futurity. Then as a 3-year-old, he came second by a neck, to Long Range Toddy as a big favorite in the Grade 2 Rebel Stakes. He was so green. His head was all over the place. He should not have been caught by Long Range Toddy, but maybe after a little bit more experience, another race at least for sure under his belt, maybe he's able to keep his head together, stay straight, and pounce through the stretch. Now, he came second by a length to the Derby favorite Omaha Beach, who's no longer in this race in the Grade 1 Arkansas Derby. The Arkansas Derby was run in the slop, which will help him here. Both races were run at Oakland Park. He's a son of City Zip. People have questioned whether he can get the distance, but City Zip has a Grade 1 race at 10 furlongs, has a horse who's handled a Grade 1 race at 10 furlongs, and that's collected. I like Improbable a lot, especially with no Omaha Beach to deal with. I'm going to be using Improbable all over my tickets. Number 6, Bakoma, moneyline 20-1. Jockey Javier J.J. Castellano, trainer George Weaver. This horse has one ugly stride, but has a lot of talent. So you have to look beyond this ugly stride. Out of Candy Ride, question is will he prefer shorter? If he's close to the pace as expected, will he be able to handle 1 1/4 miles? He's won 3 out of 4 races, won at 3 different tracks, buyers of 87, 97, 90, 94. He's going to be double digits, and he may have value. He won the Bluegrass Stakes, and that was one of the fastest prep races. He has a high cruising speed, not going to earn style points for this crisscross stride he has, but it hasn't slowed him down. His post position brings similar pros and cons to that of Improbable. The only real difference is that Bakoma shows more natural speed and has a fast horse right to his outside. Javier Castellano will have to use up his mount early, and he'll have to be up on the pace. With Omaha Beach not in the race, I'm going to use Bakoma on the back end of some of my exotics. I wasn't planning to, but without Omaha Beach, there's no reason why he can't be in the mix. He's going to be in the mix off the start. The Bluegrass Stakes was fast. He has a high cruising speed. There's a lot to like for a long shot. Now, I guess if I was going to say which long shots do I like the best, I still, even though he's at the 1, kind of like War of Will better. I like Tax. I like By My Standards. But this is a horse that's going to benefit from no Omaha Beach, because Omaha Beach was going to come over. So was Maximum Security. And what was that going to do to Bakoma? It was going to force Bakoma to expend all his energy getting to the top. Now Bakoma might be able to rate a little bit. I'm going to use Bakoma underneath. Number 7, Maximum Security. Morning line 10-1. Obviously, that's going to go down now without Omaha Beach to mess with. Jockey Luis Saez, trainer Jason Service. He's by New Year's Day, who won the Breeders' Cup Juvenile for Bob Baffert right in front of me at Santa Anita. He's a perfect 4-for-4 lifetime, unbeaten and relatively untested. He debuted at $16,000 maiden claiming race. He won it by 10 lengths. Comes back a month later in an allowance race. He wins by 6 lengths. They bring him back again in another allowance race. He wins by 18 lengths with a 102 buyer. 18 lengths he won by in a 7-furlong race. Then he runs in the Florida Derby against tough competition. We figure this will be our chance to really learn about this horse. Then the Derby goes off to a very slow 24 2/4, a 48 4.5. We call it walking the dog. He's on a very, very slow pace, expending no energy. He was just cruising. Slow early portions. He has a ton of run late. There's the 71-1 chasing him. Bodie Express, who Bodie Express is in this race now. The Omaha Beach is out. Bodie Express will be in that 20th gate. He'll be number 21. So he went so slow early that a lot of thoroughbred handicappers don't believe in this horse. And they have every right to. They have every right to. He's never been tested with a 45 2.5. He's always had everything his way. But listen, he's won one of the big prep races, the Florida Derby. That's a big deal. He's won on the lead. He's won from just off the lead. He's won at 1 1/8 miles. He has not been given a lot of respect. I get it. The favorite in the Florida Derby, Hidden Scroll, was rated in that race, and he looked terrible. But he's 1 for 1 on a wet track. That's going to help on Saturday. He's 3 for 3 on a dry fast track. What's he done wrong? His connections couldn't have asked for a better draw. Right in the middle of the gate, in the main first gate. Those to either side lack consistent gate speed. This will leave him free to maneuver without much of an issue after the break. Now there's no Omaha Beach. There's no Omaha Beach to rate right beside him, be on the back of his hip, and wait to pounce on him. Who's going to be doing the pouncing now? It's Maximum Security. Maximum Security is now my pick to win the Kentucky Derby. Now, there's going to be some very expensive horses coming hard at him. Improbable, Game Winner, Roadster, Some very, very tough horses. Tacitus. But without Omaha Beach, how fast will War of Will really want to go once he gets the lead? If it's another 46-4 or a 47-1, Maximum Security can take care of business. I'm taking Maximum Security to win the Kentucky Derby. Number 8, Tacitus. Morning line 10-1. Jockey Jose Ortiz, trainer Bill Mott. Feels like we've been here before. A beautiful Tappet horse in the Derby. Will he lose the Derby, come back and win the Belmont Stakes like other Tappet horses have done? Regally bred. I mean, royally bred. Dad is Tappet. His mom is champion mare Close Hatches. It just doesn't get better than that. Won the Tampa Bay Derby and the Wood Memorial. This is a horse that comes from off the pace. He won the Tampa Bay Derby on a slightly speed-biased track. That was impressive. Now, the 22 4/4 helped. The 45 4/2 helped. He won the Wood Memorial dealing with the kind of bumping in adversity, the exact kind of bumping that these horses will face when the gates open up and 20 horses start the Derby. Those were his 2 races off the bench as a 3-year-old. He seems like he's ready to fire. He's won at 2 different racetracks. He's been bounced around the track and handled it. Here in the 119 U.S. time form rating for his win in the Wood Memorial, 2-time Grade 2 winner. He wins with sustained bids. Juddmonte Farms, Bill Mott, Jose Ortiz. What's not to like? He has Plus Q Parfait directly to his outside. That horse doesn't have early speed. Maximum Security was going to send. So he's going to have a lot of space. It's an ideal starting point for Tacitus to find a mid-pack spot without getting hung too wide and then drop a sustained bid and be in business. Tacitus is going to have to be dealt with. He's a very good horse in a nice spot. I'm going to be using him. Number 9, Plus Q Parfait. Morning line 30-1, jockey Ricardo Santana Jr., trainer Brendan Walsh. By point of entry, mare is a daughter of Awesome again. And he's coming off winning the UAE Derby. The winners of the UAE Derby continually have poor performances over here in the Kentucky Derby. Now, distance shouldn't be an issue, but is he good enough? He came second in late November here at Churchill Downs in the Grade 2 Kentucky Jockey Club at 15-1 in the slop. That's a good sign. He's going to be running late. Then on January 19th, he did not look good at the Grade 3 LeConte at Fairgrounds, placing 5th, 4.5 lengths back of War of Will. That's not too far back. He stayed at Fairgrounds for the Grade 2 Risen Star and was terrible. Placed 13th, again losing to War of Will. Then he heads over to Dubai with blinkers on for the UAE Derby, and he won it with a spectacular ride from Jose Ortiz. He will not have Jose Ortiz in the saddles here. He went over to Maiden in the UAE Derby, and he took advantage of a soft group. He can stay the distance. Should he be used in the bottom of exotics? I mean, he's going to be the longest price of any main prep winner. Could he come fourth? Maybe. Maybe he could come fourth. If I use him, I might use him on 1 or 2 tickets. I don't plan to have Plus Q Parfait involved in my action. Number 10, Cutting Humor. Morning line 30-1. Jockey Corey Lannery. Trainer Todd Pletcher. Took 3 tries for Cutting Humor to break his maiden, all at different tracks. He accomplished it at Gulfstream Park in a mile race with a 74 buyer. Then he began his 3-year-old season by coming second to Bourbon War, who almost qualified for this race. He came second to Bourbon War with an 85 buyer and a 75K optional claimer. That brought him into the Grade 3 Southwest at Oaklawn. He looked terrible. Placed 7th. Then he went into the Sunland Derby and won it. With a 95 buyer, it qualified him for this race. Now, distance shouldn't be a problem. He made a major move in the Sunland Derby, and he won it in record-setting fashion. But that race is just getting no respect from any of the thoroughbred handicappers. John Velasquez is staying on Code of Honor, but he gets Churchill's perennial meat-leading jockey, Corey Lannery. Now, he likes to race in the stalking position. One big advantage for him is that Omaha Beach is scratched, because Omaha Beach was going to cross right over Cutting Humor. And that is not going to happen, and that's going to help him. I was not going to take him in this race. But now that Omaha Beach is not here, and maybe he can get off to a nice sort of ground-saving stalking trip, he's going to make one move. He's going to make a ground-saving trip and make one big run late. Maybe he can be used at the very back end of some of my exotics. Number 11, High Cal. Morning line 30-1. Jockey Rajiv Mara. Trainer Kieran McLaughlin. Now, we just found out this morning that High Cal has a foot abscess on his left foot. His left front foot. It looks like High Cal will possibly not be in the race. He's being listed as doubtful. But we'll still take a look at him just in case he draws in. He's won 3 times and finished in the money in all 5 lifetime starts. He needs a hot pace. In the Grade 3 Gotham, the pace was extremely fast. 44-2. Instagram was on that pace, and he came with this giant run. It was exhilarating. We were on High Cal, and it was a huge victory. Then he comes back in the Grade 2 Wood Memorial. The pace was slower, and he finished 3rd, 4 lengths back. He needs a very, very hot pace, and with Omaha Beach not in this race, pushing those guys in the front. Now, Spinoff may come over. Spinoff from that far outside gate may come over and try to make a big run to the lead and put on a hot pace, but he's got to come so far over, it's very difficult. I think War Will is going to break as fast as possible from that one spot to get away from that rail, and then Maximum Security is going to be right on his side, and I don't think it's going to be that hot of a pace without Omaha Beach pushing them. His half-brother is Tackeful, the great sprinter who won the Grade 1 Bosberg, so there is some question whether High Cal wants the distance. Now, he is flanked by horses who want to be closer to the front, so High Cal, it shouldn't mind getting squeezed. He's going to stay back and make a big run. With his abscess injury on his foot, I am not using High Cal in any of my action. Number 13, Code of Honor. Morning line 15-1. Jockey Johnny Velasquez. Trainer Shug McGahee. Came second in the Grade 1 Champagne as a 2-year-old. He stumbled out of the gate. He made this giant run. 90 buyer, won the race. It was very, very exciting, and people were very, very impressed with him. Then he missed the Breeders' Cup Juvenile due to injury. Then he missed the Remsen Stakes due to illness, and people weren't fully sure what they had. He rolls into the Mucho Macho Man at Gulfstream Park. He's the big favorite. He's the chalk, and he had a very disappointing race, a very disappointing result. He comes back in the Grade 2 Fountain of Youth at just under 10-1. Clearly, he needed the Mucho Macho Man race under his belt. He comes in at just under 10-1 and puts up a 95 buyer. There's a fast pace. He comes late. He wins the race. Now, Bourbon War was coming fast on him, and I was on Bourbon War that day. But Bourbon War couldn't get the Code of Honor. Then he goes into the Florida Derby, and we've talked about the Florida Derby. It had a very slow pace. Maximum Security was just walking on the lead. He was just cruising very slowly on the lead. And this is a horse that needs a fast pace. And we thought we were going to get that fast pace, and now we are not so sure. Without Omaha Beach pushing Maximum Security and War of Will and Bakoma off the top, maybe there won't be as fast as a pace. And if there's not a fast pace, Code of Honor is in trouble. In the Florida Derby, he came 3rd. He put up a 91 buyer. He fought, but he just didn't have enough. The pace wasn't hot enough. Shug McGahee, the trainer, a great, well-loved trainer. He has not had a horse in the Derby since the 2013 winner, Orb, who made me a lot of money. Now, if there's anything that you'd be worried about with this horse, Code of Honor, there's going to be 20 horses in this field, and Code of Honor is slender. He could get pushed around. If he does get shuffled back a bit, it's not really that big of a deal. Just get to the rail and make that one sustained bid. I am using Code of Honor at the end of my triactors and my exotics in case he does make a big run, and I wasn't going to. I wasn't going to use him. I had counted him out, but when High Cal went out, I filled that spot with Code of Honor. Number 14, Win. Morning line 15-1. Jockey Julian Pimentel. Trainer Michael Trombetta. He's 0 for 2 around 2 turns. He went off as the favorite in the Tampa Bay Derby. He ran 4 wide. He lost to Tacitus by 2.5 lengths. He earned the 89 buyer for that. Then he goes into the Bluegrass at 3-1. The race, as we know, was won by Bakoma. It was run at a fast time. He was blocked right at the beginning of his move. He impressively rallied, close faster than any other horse in the race. Had he not been blocked, he would have been much closer than the 3.5 lengths he lost by. He's coming off an impressive workout at Churchill Downs. Now, normally this post and the 15 post are a very troubled spot. But because of Omaha Beach being knocked out of the race, and now possibly High Cal, he leaves the auxiliary gate. So the auxiliary gate starts at 14-15. Now he moves over to the main gate, which is much, much easier. But as I say this, we're going to have game winner and the 14 spot now. We're going to have Roadster in the 15th spot, and they're going to want to come over, and that's a danger. It's a dangerous spot, but it's much better than starting at the end of the auxiliary spot, at the auxiliary gate. Win is a very attractive long shot. 15-1. Now, there are some cappers who are concerned that just because his name is Win, the casual person going out to the track or going to the Derby will bet on this horse just because of the name. Someone who doesn't study the form, who doesn't know the form, is just going to look and say, Win. Oh, I'll take him. And there's some concern that his line, which is right now at 15-1, will be lower just because of the casual sports fan betting Win in the Derby. I'm using Win in my exotics. I'm using him to come second in a couple triactors, to come third in some triactors. I'm not using him in any exactor bets. But Win is a dangerous horse on Saturday. Number 15, Master Fencer. Morning line 50-1. Jockey Julian Leparoux. Trainer Koichi Tsunoda. This is a Japanese horse. 2 for 6 lifetime. Just away is his sire. Nice grass horse in Japan. Came with a late run to come second in the Fukuyura Stakes last out. He's not getting any love from the North American handicappers. The first ever Japan-bred colt to run in the Derby. Also the third based in his country to give it a go in this race. He couldn't beat his local stakes competition. He's going to have a very, very tough time beating this kind of caliber of horse at Churchill Downs. I will not be using Master Fencer in any of my action. Number 16, Game Winner. Morning line 5-1. Jockey Joel Rosario. Trainer Bob Baffert. Here we go. The 2-year-old champion. Unbeaten as a 2-year-old, 0 for 2 as a 3-year-old. He finished second by a nose to Omaha Beach, who was going to be the favorite in this race before he was knocked out. Finished second by a nose in the Grade 2 Rebel Stakes to Omaha Beach. Then he finished second by a half length to Roadster in the Santa Anita Derby. There was no need for him to win the Santa Anita Derby. His stablemate, who is right beside him in this race, Roadster, had to win the Santa Anita Derby to get into this race. Was Game Winner trying down the lane? That's up for you to decide. He clearly wasn't being hard pushed down the lane when they saw Roadster coming up beside him. He ran a 96 and a 97 buyer in those 2 races. He's going to give you 100%. He's going to show up. This is a tough horse. Baffert knows how to win at Churchill Downs. Baffert knows how to win the Kentucky Derby. Now, we know that this is his 3rd start off the bench. He's ready to fire. Distance is not an issue. Now, 2-year-old champions rarely are 3-year-old champions. There's a lot of different reasons for that, but 2-year-old champions rarely are at their peak performance as a 3-year-old. Baffert obviously wanted to change that. So he's brought him back slowly. He wants him to peak right here on this race, Saturday. He's known for his wide trips. So now with the possible elimination of High Cal, which we'll know about soon, we just found out this morning about the foot abscess. If High Cal is out, Omaha Beach is out, instead of being at the 16th post, he's going to be at the 14th post. Roadster is going to be at the 15th post, right at the edge of the auxiliary gate. The whole race, if you are betting on Game Winner or Roadster, or if you're betting against them, your eyes are going to be peeled on what happens in the start of the race out of the auxiliary gate, because oftentimes these horses are coming over, smash into the horses at the end of the main gate. All the horses to the right are going to be wanting to come in. It's a dangerous spot for Game Winner to be in. Number 17, Roadster. Morning line 6-1. Jockey Florent Giroux. Trainer Bob Baffert. The 3rd of Baffert's 3 horses. As we know, Mike Smith chose to ride Omaha Beach over Roadster. So now Florent Giroux is on Roadster. Mike Smith did a lot of the study for us, but now we can't use that because Omaha Beach is not in this race. Roadster broke his maiden as a 2-year-old, easily winning by 4 1/4 lengths at Del Mar with an 81 buyer in his first lifetime start. Then he followed it up with a 3rd place finish in the Del Mar Futurity. He lost a Game Winner and he lost a Rowayton. He had some sort of breathing issue. He had a procedure. Came back 6 months later in an optional claimer against Nolo Contesto, a good horse, and he won easily. Then he came into the Santa Anita Derby against Game Winner and Instagram. He had to win to get into this race. The opening quarter was a pedestrian 23-2. The half was somewhat slow at 47-4. For a horse who comes off the pace, that is not helpful. Then, in the middle of the race, he falls way back. I couldn't understand what was happening. He fell way back, and then he made this giant run. And he passes Instagram, and then he gets up to pass game winner, who may or may have not been pushing hard in that stretch run. But it was extremely impressive. Now, his Beyer has improved every race. He was given a 98 for his Santa Anita Derby, but his U.S. time form rating was a little slower. It was just 113. Omaha Beach earned a 121 in the Arkansas. Tacitus earned a 119 in the Wood. He's never shipped out of Southern California, but he's on his third start off the bench. He could be sitting on a massive race. He's showing versatility, but his odds are going to be going down. They're going to be going down even further because Omaha Beach is not in this race. So if he breaks like he did 2 weeks back, he could wind up with a good trip, but it's going to be a wide trip. And he's moving over. So he was in the 17 post. And as we all know, and everyone talks about, no horse has ever won the Derby out of the 17 post. But now he's right at the edge of the auxiliary gate with his stablemate. And it's a dangerous spot to be in. You have to make cuts. You have to look at spectacular horses and say, you know, I'm going to focus my energy with other horses on top. And we've talked about the Santa Anita Derby not getting the respect, not having the same time form speed ratings as some of the Arkansas races or some of the New York races. Now, if you don't have Roadster and Game Winner at all in your top 4, it's very, very dangerous. So I do have them in some exactor boxes with my 2 favorite horses. I do have both of them involved, but I'm focusing almost all of my action, almost my entire action, on Maximum Security and Improbable at the very top. So now obviously I don't want them to hurt themselves off the break, but I'm hoping for a less than stellar break by Roadster and Game Winner, and I'm using them on the bottom of my exotics because you have to make cuts, and they're hard to make, and I'm cutting these 2 Baffert horses. Number 18, Long Range Toddy. Morning line 30-1. Jockey, the 58-year-old John Court. Trainer Steve Asmussen. Broke his maiden on his second asking at Remington Park, 63 buyer. Then he won a 100K stakes race, 77 buyer. Then a 400K stakes race, 82 buyer. That closed out his 2-year-old season. Then he goes to Oaklawn as a 3-year-old, 150K stakes race, comes second by a neck at 5-1, 87 buyer. Then he has his first graded stakes race. The grade 3 Southwest at Oaklawn. He places third at 8-1 with another 87 buyer. Then comes the breakthrough, the grade 2 Rebel Stakes. He beats Baffert's Improbable by a neck with a 95 buyer. He showed versatility. As we talked about, though, Improbable's head was all over the place. He was not focused coming down the stretch. He looked very green, and he got by Long Range Toddy. Respect to Long Range Toddy. That is followed up with his last race, the Grade 1 Arkansas Derby. He comes in at 7-1, and it's raining. It's sloppy, sealed track, and he clearly did not like it. He comes 6th. He's 14 lengths back. He did not like the sloppy track, and now we're getting closer to the Derby, and we know it's going to be rain. There is a 100% chance of rain now on Saturday, and this horse clearly does not like the footing. So he's going to have to take back, because his biggest win in the Rebel did come when Long Range Toddy saved ground and switched out. So John Court is going to have to save ground and figure out how to get this horse to make a giant run. And with the sloppy track, I want nothing to do with Long Range Toddy. He is not going to be involved in any of my action. Number 19, Spinoff. Morning line 30-1. Jockey Manny Franco. Trainer Todd Pletcher. This is a lightly raced horse that's getting better and better and better. People are very high on Spinoff, but this is a very far outside gate. And if High Cal is also out with Napsis, then he will be in that 17th gate. As we know, no horse has ever won from that gate. Let's talk about it. He broke his maiden at first asking in a 5-furlong sprint last July at Gulfstream with a 60 buyer. Comes back in the Saratoga Special, and he doesn't look very good. He places third, but it's just a 4-horse field. He puts up a 75 buyer. Then he took 5 months off. Returns in a 75K optional claimer in Tampa, and Pletcher had him ready to fire. Todd Pletcher is a great, great trainer. He wins by 11 lengths, 84 buyer. Then he comes second in the Louisiana Derby by 3/4 of a length to By My Standards. And he gets a 95 buyer. On the turn to home, it looked like Spinoff was going to win this race. Everything was set up for him to win this race. But he got caught by my standards, and by my standards did not have much problem getting past him. They were 5 lengths clear of the rest of the field. He likes to be up on the pace, and that outside gate spot is going to be so tough for him. He's going to have to bolt out of the gates and move right over. Now, usually Pletcher has enormous contenders, not 30-1 spots. This is not normal for Pletcher. But this is a horse that at age 2 returned to beat winners in the Tampa Bay Downs allowance by 11 3/4. He went straight into the Louisiana Derby and came second. Again, they were 5 lengths clear of everybody else. His dad is hard spun. He's quick from the gate, but it's very likely he has a very wide trip. The only positive for this inexperienced colt is that if he bolts out of the gate, he's not going to take much dirt in the face. We saw how easy it was for By My Standards to get past him in the Louisiana Derby, and I am not going to include spin-off in any of my action. Number 20, Country House. Morning line 30-1. Jockey Flavian Pratt. Trainer Bill Mott. As we know, Mott is also training Tacitus. The pedigree suggests that he wants distance, but he always makes one big move and then doesn't finish the job. He just kind of flattens out. He makes one big move, and you're like, oh, look who's coming. And then he really doesn't fire. In the Arkansas Derby, it looked like he was making the big move from the outside. He was passing horses, and then he just kind of flattened out. He broke his maiden in his first start of 2019 with an 80 buyer. Ran an impressive second in the Risen Star at 7-1, losing the War of Will by 2 1/4 lengths with an 86 buyer. He increased his buyer by 1 with an 87 buyer in coming 4th in the Louisiana Derby by 6.5 lengths. Then he lost by 6+ lengths with a 91 buyer in the Arkansas Derby. Post position won't really matter. He's going to hang back, move over to the rail, and make one big run. He is going to pass tired horses. Can he get up to 4th for your superfecta for a huge payout? It's possible. It's possible, but I'm not going to use Country House in any of my action. Number 21, Bodie Express. 30-1 morning line. He also eligible. He draws into this race with Omaha Beach exiting it. Jockey Chris Landros, trainer Gustavo Delgado. This horse is still a maiden. Still a maiden. Started out 24th of November in 2018. Looked terrible, 9th by 16 lengths. He comes back and almost breaks his maiden at Gulfstream Park. 40K maiden special weight, comes second by 2 lengths at 18-1. Then he comes in to another maiden race in the slop. 1 mile in the slop, and he doesn't like the slop. And we know that it's going to be raining on Saturday, and you have to like the slop if you are going to succeed on Saturday. He comes 4th by 18 lengths at just over 5-1. Then he comes off at 7-1 in a 7-furlong race at Gulfstream on the 16th of February. He stalks the pace, 4th, second by 3, and he comes running with a fast 91 buyer. He comes second by a neck. And then comes his breakthrough, the Florida Derby. He comes with a 96 buyer. He chases maximum security around that whole track, and they set very slow fractions. But he was at 71-1, and he came second in the Florida Derby by 3.5 lengths to maximum security. First off, this horse is going to be starting off in way to the outside. Secondly, this horse doesn't like slop, and it's never won before in his life. This is a tough place to get your first win. It's not going to happen. I am not using Bodie Express in any of my action. The 2019 Kentucky Derby is here. There is no true favorite. Omaha Beach is gone. There is parity amongst the top horses. There is money to be made. This is how I see the race breaking down. War of Will is going to bust out as fast as possible from the 1 post to try to get away from the rail. Tax may go with them. Tax may get shuffled back. Bakoma is going to go with them. Maximum Security is going to go with them. The horse that was supposed to come over and stalk Maximum Security around the track and then pounce and win the race, Omaha Beach, is gone. Not in the race. That gives Maximum Security a distinct advantage. Now, the horse that I believe will stalk Maximum Security and then pounce at the end of the race, Improbable, coming out of the 5 post, could work himself out an excellent trip. Now, Tacitus is a problem for my action. Tacitus is a very good horse, but I'm hoping that Wood Memorial curse or the curse of the New York bred horses or the curse of Tappet horses continues here. I hope Tacitus comes 5th or 6th in this race, and then we bet Tacitus when he comes back for the Belmont Stakes. Now, I know people are saying Maximum Security has never run a 45-2 half in a 1.25 mile race. Sure, but will it be a 45-2? It might not. Omaha Beach is not going to push them to go any faster. And we know that Maximum Security can rate off the pace. Then we come to the Baffert horses. 16, Game Winner, 17, Roadster. These two horses, because of the scratch to Omaha Beach and the possible scratch to High Cal, are now in the very edge of the auxiliary gate. Notoriously, it's a very tough spot to start from. We've seen it for years and years and years. They just don't produce from that spot. They come over, they're smashing coming out of the auxiliary gate. It's a dangerous place to start. And they're going to have to be running wide the entire time. They are at a distinct disadvantage. We have an advantage and a distinct disadvantage with parity. It reminds me of the 2014 football season. In the NFC, the Seahawks and the 49ers were getting quality output from their quarterback position for $750,000 because they had the very young Colin Kaepernick for the Niners, Russell Wilson for the Seahawks. That gave the Seahawks and 49ers an extra $20 million to spread around the field on other players. It gave them a $20 million advantage to all the other teams that were spending $20 to $30 million on their quarterback and getting the same output as the 49ers and Seahawks. I see a similar situation happening here. There's parity in this race, yet there's a distinct advantage that Improbable and Maximum Security have. Our Game Winner and Roadster, so good that they can overcome these disadvantages? Maybe. But I'm betting that the advantage that the 5 and the 7 horse have in this race will carry over and let them be there when the finish line approaches. So this is my action. I have $550 bet on this race. Now, I may have to call an audible. The only issue I would have is if Improbable is acting up. If he's acting up half an hour, 45 minutes before the race, if he's freaking out, then I may call an audible and may not use him. It's possible. That's the only audible I think I'll have to call. And who knows? Maybe there'll be more late scratches. Who knows? I will be tweeting all of my bets out. I will show you the tickets. I will send them out so everybody sees my action. Come Saturday, come the Run for the Roses. This is it. $550 in action. I have $100 to win on Improbable. I have $100 to win on Maximum Security. I have a $40 exactor box that costs $80 on Improbable and Maximum Security. That's the situation I need. I need Improbable and Maximum Security there when push comes to shove and the race is over. But I have put myself in a situation where I will be okay if one of them still comes through. I have a $15 straight exactor Maximum Security, 2 Game Winner, and a $10 exactor the other side. I have a $15 exactor Maximum Security Roadster and $10 Roadster to Maximum Security. $15 exactor Improbable to Game Winner, $10 the other side. I have a $15 exactor Improbable to Roadster, $10 the other side. I have a $15 exactor Maximum Security to Tacitus, $10 the other side. And I have a $15 exactor Improbable to Tacitus and $10 to the other side. Now here is where I want to get paid. And that is with my triactor bets, my trifecta action. With my trifectas, I have Improbable and Maximum Security in the top 3. And I need one of them to win. That's how it works. So I have Improbable, Maximum Security, and then I add in War of Will. War of Will can come 2nd or 3rd. I do the same thing with Tax. I do the same thing with By My Standards. I do the same thing with Bakoma. I do the same thing with Tacitus. I do the same thing with Cutting Humor. I do the same thing with Code of Honor. I do the same thing with Win, Win, Win. And I do the same thing with Game Winner and Roadster, although I hope that they're not to be found. I hope they're coming hard late and place 5th and 6th. I hope one of them lets go and is just, you know, you don't want horses to get hurt, obviously. But I hope it's a tough start for them. That is my action. The Run for the Roses. And we've been given a Triple Crown promo code from Bovada. BOVKD20 is the code. Sign up at Bovada. It's for new accounts only. You get the 50% bonus and also a $20 deposit bonus valid for 7 days post sign up. Put that $20 on Improbable or Maximum Security. It's going to be a glorious Saturday. I don't remember being this excited about a Run for the Roses. It's wide open and there's cash to be made. Yeah! Yeah! Man, I am pumped. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you have a very, very lucrative Saturday, May 4th.